Let me ask you, you've worked in the White House, you've been in plenty of Oval Office meetings. I was just hoping for your sort of take on this December 2020 meeting that we've reported out with a former President Trump, Michael Flynn, Sidney Powell, reportedly screaming at White House attorneys. This is part of the reporting that White House counsel Pat Cipollone told the January 6th committee he was, quote, not happy with the group assembled that day, saying he was vehemently opposed to the plans they proposed. The White House lawyer, Eric Hirschman, described the screaming match, in his words, as nuts, laced with profanity, he said. It's this meeting that's among the areas that Jack Smith is focusing on. I trust you've never seen anything like that, but it does show you sort of a lot of different voices in that room who may have something to add to the understanding of what was going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, well, the most important thing, Peter, is I was in a lot of meetings over 8 years in the White House that involved lawyers, that involved the White House counsel. And the White House counsel was there to tell you what the parameters were of what you could do. Now, in the Obama years, we were never trying to overturn the result of an election, but they were there to offer legal judgment. And I think what's really important here, and what's central, obviously, to Jack Smith, is if he was getting guidance from the White House counsel that something was not legal, that something was breaking norms, that something was beyond the pale in terms of the proposals that were being brought to him by this kind of strange collection of conspiracy theorists, if he heard that advice from his own lawyer and chose to disregard it, well, that's the whole ballgame right there, because that means that not only was he trying to overturn the election, that he was being told that what he was doing was illegal. And so that, to me, is the central thing, is was he ignoring the legal advice that he was being given? I think the other thing that's notable, I was there in a transition too, Peter. It's a strange time, particularly if you're transitioning to someone from a different party. That was the case for us in the Obama years. Trump was not someone who was seeking to undertake a transition. He was seeking to figure out how to stay there. And that, too, is something that we've not seen in American history. So that meeting speaks to both the illegality of what Trump was doing and the huge abuse of power that he was engaged in, because he was not there to figure out how to follow the law or to pass the baton. He was there to figure out how to hold on to power, even if it meant breaking the law.
To say nothing of the protective cocoon that normally exists around the Oval Office, that people with these sort of fringe ideas, these conspiracy theories, are not invited to go visit face-to-face with the president and share them, spew them in this case. Ben, let me shift overseas quickly. Some news that Reuters has now, that there's new video that surfaced reportedly of Yevgeny Prigozhin telling Wagner fighters, that mercenary forces, they will no longer be fighting in Ukraine for now. This video is very dark, but Reuters believes that it's Prigozhin's profile. We see it very briefly, his voice we hear but can't be verified in terms of its authenticity. NBC News, we should note, hasn't independently verified either when this was filmed. But if Wagner troops are pulled completely from Ukraine, how does that impact the war effort? They were on the front lines in much of eastern Ukraine.
Well, look, there's a lot that's interesting about this video. First of all, Prigozhin continues his criticism of the Russian war effort. So this is somebody who stood up to Putin, and Putin said he was going to bring him to prison, essentially, during that mutiny. The fact that he's now in Belarus, hanging out and still issuing criticisms, kind of further underscores a degree of weakness in Putin. And the fact that he's pulling Wagner troops out, by all indications, Peter, the reason that Putin didn't come down harder on Prigozhin, the reason that he is in Belarus, is because Putin wanted to integrate those Wagner fighters into the Russian war effort. They've been central to some of the few Russian victories in recent months, including the victory in Bakhmut. If you remove them from the battlefield, that's a big loss to the Russian war effort as well. And so Putin here he's lost face because Prigozhin is still out there walking around, and he's also lost some real manpower that was central to the Russian war effort in the last several months. So this is, I think, a major development if what Prigozhin says is true, and the Wagner guys are going to be leaving the field.
Andrew, let me ask you about this topic more broadly. I know you were with Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield, the UN ambassador for the U.S., and you spoke to her about whether the U.S. is losing this moral high ground by sending those controversial, widely banned, prohibited by 120-plus countries, cluster bombs to Ukraine. How did she respond?
Well, she had been one of the critics of cluster bombs just a year ago, but she is justifying it, as are other U.S. officials, because of how important it is right now in the counteroffensive, given the terrain. Here's what she had to say.
Russia used these munitions against Ukraine in an attack on Ukraine. And we have to remind ourselves every day that Ukraine is defending its democracy, it's defending its sovereignty, it's defending its independence.
But I've got to tell you that some U.S. officials out here, and certainly other officials, believe, because this is a gathering of world leaders, that this is really stalemate. It's a frozen conflict, and that it's going to go on for quite a while, and that it's really arguable whether Ukraine can really win. That's why this is so critical, and why they are rushing more arms to Ukraine to try to hold off. But one of the things that the UN ambassador said to me last night is, and let me quote her, she said that, Russia has become a pariah state around the world. 143 countries have condemned their actions in Ukraine, foot, as we heard earlier, and they are desperate. I described them in the Security Council as a bully on the playground. They can't get their way. So communications between Linda Thomas-Greenfield and the Russian ambassador now at the UN and the Security Council, not good. And as you know, Russia has just vetoed the grain deal, which is going to deny grain to the world and increase world hunger.